What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Uprise podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the possibility that Karl-Anthony Towns actually wants out of Minnesota, as is being reported. And we'll talk about the potential that Minnesota might trade him. That could be an interesting trade target for your Portland Trail Blazers. We'll also start off with our picks against the spread. But first, this is our last podcast of 2020. Last podcast before 2020. Last podcast of 2019. I'm already mixing up my years. 2020, we're going to be bringing you guys a lot of cool stuff. I'm very excited for that. Stay tuned. Make sure you check in on Wednesday because we will definitely upgrade the graphics of the stream, some of the stuff we're doing with this stream. So I'm very excited to show some of the stuff off that I've been working on. And yeah, we're going to get straight into this once chat fills up. It's a pretty light show for today. We'll also preview this Phoenix Suns game. This is obviously a very important game that the Blazers have tonight as they play against a team in the Phoenix Suns who they're kind of battling with for playoff positioning. There's a bunch of teams bunched up right behind us at that 8th spot. The fact that we still have that 8th spot at 14-19 is a bit surprising, but that's the case. So I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Eric Brandt. What's going on, man?
Hey, how's everyone doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Hopefully chat's doing good as well. I got to pull it up on my phone, I guess, because my computer is not connecting to chat. So, it's been an interesting past couple days. It's been a feisty past couple days, but we're not going to get into that. All I'm going to say on that is make sure you follow me on Twitter at ToryJonesYT, follow Eric on Twitter at HoopsJock, and follow the channel at Blazers Uprise. I'm going to be looking down at my phone because I got to read chat off my phone. Austin Wax still blocked. Yeah, I'll remember at some point probably. I honestly...
I'll try to remember him after this episode.
I told Eric to remind me, and Eric forgets, and then I forget. I should remember, but I shut off the stream, honestly, and my mind goes completely off the stream. Like, okay, what next? But yeah, I'll get you. That's why you don't make burner accounts of me. I think we ended up getting that Twitter burner account of me blocked, or something. I reported it. Hopefully somebody else reported it because it went offline pretty fast. Maybe whoever made it deleted it. But somebody made a Twitter burner account of me. That wasn't good. I highly suggest you don't do that. I'm not trying to give chat any ideas or anything. Probably shouldn't have even brought it up. But anyway, what's on?
Tiger Tory.
The burner was Eric Brandt. Oh, the burner was Eric Brandt. Brian Scalabrine. We'll get into it. What's up, Necro99? What's up, Parker? The thing is, Karl-Anthony Towns can play power forward. I'm just gonna say that. We're gonna get into it. I do think he'd be a good target, but we gotta hold up. So anyway, let's get into our picks against the spread. It's 4:48, so we're gonna miss out on any games that started at 4 or 4:30. But any games starting at 5 and after that, we're gonna do our picks against the spread segment. So I don't know when the last time we picked games was. I think it was we ended up missing our Friday podcast, so I guess it was Wednesday.
We didn't do Wednesday because it was Christmas,
Gotcha.
So it was last Monday.
Gotcha.
And you were 0-4, I was 1-3, and chat was 2-2. So not a good night
That's
for
horrible.
us. That was the night. That was the night the Blazers lost to New Orleans. You're 72-64. I'm 75-63, and chat is 2 games above 500 at 63-61.
So we're all looking pretty good. We're all looking good.
Against the spread, over 500 is good.
Yeah, that means you're probably making a little bit of money. So we'll try and gain more separation over 500, which I wish the Blazers could do. But this is what we got for now. So anyway, what's our first game, Eric?
First game is Brooklyn is 4.5-point favorites at Minnesota tonight.
That's an interesting game. You have the news about Karl-Anthony Towns possibly wanting out. I assume he's playing tonight?
I haven't seen anything otherwise.
I'm
gonna take Minnesota getting points at home.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Minnesota as well.
Team.
That's a home game. Brooklyn still doesn't have Kyrie, I don't think so. Yeah, I'm gonna take Minnesota there. In for this segment, for the future, I'm gonna have a graphic on the bottom.
Chat saying Cat is out.
Cat is out. Then I'm gonna take Brooklyn. That's a bad team without Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm gonna take Brooklyn there. I don't know exactly who's out, but in the future we're gonna make our picks before the segment because we'll have graphics that will like show our picks, and it'll show the betting line and stuff like that. So that'll be cool. That's part of the upgrade that's coming January 1st. Anyway, what we got next, man?
Next, Milwaukee is also a road favorite, 8.5-point favorites in Chicago tonight.
Live stream rebuild. I'm gonna take Miami with the even though that's a
Milwaukee.
Big spread.
It's Milwaukee.
Oh, Milwaukee. Yeah, I'll take Milwaukee.
All right, I'm also going to take Milwaukee.
Milwaukee's blown a lot of teams out this year, so taking them with points is still a really, really good pick, no matter the points. Tommy Thompson said live stream rebuild for 2K. That could be something fun. I want to get a game capture. I'd need a game capture, but I might buy that with the Patreon money I get for this month. That also lets me plug Patreon right now. If you're not donating to our Patreon, you have 2 days left to donate to our Patreon if you want to appear on the channel during the month of January. So you have to be donating before that month, since donations go through on the 1st of each month. So if you decide to donate $10 a month or more in the next couple of days, then you will get a guest appearance on our podcast. We owe a few people some guest appearances for the month of January.
And what else do you owe the people, Tori?
We ain't gonna get into that. That's a post game thing. I know. It's not gonna be something that happens quick because I gotta put in the work to make that solid. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna come out here and embarrass myself with that rap song. So, anyway, what we got next?
This is a tough game to pick for me. It's Detroit is in Utah, and Utah is 9-point favorites.
Is Detroit healthy? This is something we gotta look up before podcast. I'm gonna take Utah.
Okay.
I'm gonna take Detroit.
All right, I was just gonna say I was gonna take the points.
Yeah, I mean
9 points seems like a lot.
If Detroit's healthy, I definitely would take Detroit. So I'm just gonna assume they're healthy, and I'm gonna cross my fingers on that one.
All right, so we got 2 Utah, 3 Detroits. I'll wait to see if anyone else votes. And the final game tonight is the Phoenix Suns at your Portland Trail Blazers. And the Blazers are 5.5-point favorites.
Oh, I'm going to take the Suns. 5.5 points is a little bit too much there. 5.5 is a little too much there, sadly. I'd love to beat them by more than 5.5. Hopefully we do. But I was thinking the spread was going to be 2 or 3. 5.5 is a little much, in my opinion. Especially without Scalabissiere. Who's going to be our backup center, guys? Who's going to be our backup?
Brown.
It's going to be Moses Brown or Anthony Tolliver. That's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem for us. We should go out and sign a backup big man, but we got Moses Brown as our second 7-footer on the roster right now. That sucks. And to everybody out there who says injuries, yes, if Moses Brown is out there getting burnt because he's only our second 7-footer, then yes, that it'll be because Moses freaking Brown is out there. Obviously.
Brian, he got called up today.
Yeah, he got called up from the G League. So Tolliver is 7 foot in spirit. I actually think Tolliver's like 6 foot in spirit. But we could disagree on that one. He don't get off the ground, so when he jumps, he's like a 6-footer. Anyway, so yeah, I'm taking Phoenix. Eric, what's your pick?
I'm gonna be a homer tonight and take the Blazers.
I read something on Twitter the other day.
It's more wishful thinking.
Yeah, true. I read something. I think it was Max Kelly, one of our viewers, tweeted this out. He said, "Whenever you bet, treat it like an investment. Don't bet with your heart. Don't bet on emotion. And that's what I'm doing here by picking the Phoenix Suns. Hopefully, that's what I'm doing there. I'm trying to be logical. I'm betting with my head, not my heart.
Well, this is the kind of game where the Phoenix money line is pretty good value.
Yeah.
So you just put a few bucks down on Phoenix, and if you lose, you're not quite as pissed off because you made a few dollars.
So on Wednesday, we'll have 4 games, and that's when I'm gonna show off the graphics package I have for this. It's gonna look it's gonna look awesome, man. Eric's seen some of it. I asked Eric, I was like, okay, do you want to be surprised by the graphics, or do you want to see some of them as we go along? So he's kind of seen what I got planned a little bit graphically for this segment. What do you think about it, Eric?
It'll be cool.
It'll be cool, yeah. It'll be cool. Something nobody's doing with their podcast. Nobody's doing it live, and nobody's gonna be doing the graphics that we're doing. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. But we only have 4 games on Wednesday. The times are super weird. The first game's at 3. So I want to get that podcast live at 3. Maybe like a couple minutes before 3, and we'll jump straight into that. Just so we can bet on that 3 p.m. game. Because there's only 4 games. And I'm going to put together the graphics for it. So our podcast will be going live around 3 p.m. Stay tuned on Wednesday. So anyway, we got to get into the topic for this podcast. Apparently Karl-Anthony Towns wants out of Minnesota. Now I'm gonna pull up the article here, and I'll read some quotes or something. But apparently Karl-Anthony Towns is tired of losing with the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's a team that's sucked pretty much every year he's been there. The only year they didn't suck was when Jimmy Butler was there, and it's been publicized how Jimmy Butler has ripped into Karl-Anthony Towns while he was on the Timberwolves after he left Minnesota. So I don't think that getting that 8th playoff spot was that great of an experience for Karl-Anthony Towns either. So I think it's kind of starting to hit the fan. Karl-Anthony Towns apparently wants out of Minnesota. But also at the same time, there's reports that Minnesota isn't interested in trading him. I don't know what Karl-Anthony Towns' contract looks like, but I know he's under contract for multiple years. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, I just signed a max rookie extension, I think, last summer. So it just kicked in this year, I think. If I'm remembering correctly, I'll look it up though.
He's under contract until 2024. No player option or anything. So Minnesota does not have to trade Karl-Anthony Towns. That's the most important thing to remember. They can keep on to him. They can hold on to him until 2024. That's a long, long time. He's probably not going to get traded. They're probably not going to trade him. But if they do, this is going to be a very interesting trade market for Karl-Anthony Towns, because you got a lot of competitive teams out there, a lot of teams that feel like they have a chance, and you have teams out there with assets. I think the team to really look out for would be the Boston Celtics in a trade for Karl-Anthony Towns, because they need a center. They have Jaylen Brown, Gordon Hayward, Jason Tatum at the forward spots, Kemba Walker at the point guard spot. They have Memphis's 2020-2021 first-round pick. In 2020, Boston gets Memphis's first-round pick if it's 8th or lower. And so if it's 7th or higher, Memphis keeps it. And then Memphis sends Boston their 2021 first in that case, and that 2021 first-round pick is unprotected. So Boston would get it regardless. So that's a really good asset to throw in there. Boston has some picks. Maybe you'd include Jason Tatum. It'll be interesting.
The problem is, Boston has the same problem with like trades for Whiteside. Obviously, gutting the team for Cat is a little different than for Whiteside, but it's in that range where you either have to trade Hayward and attach a bunch of assets to it, or get rid of like 4 guys to make the money work. And I don't know if they'd be willing to do that or not. But
yeah, I mean, that's the thing is Marcus Smart, Gordon Hayward, that's not guys they want to trade for Whiteside. I think that's guys they'd be willing to trade for Karl-Anthony Towns if they needed to. But the other team to watch out for, I'm looking at this article right here from CBSSports.com, is the Golden State Warriors, apparently. It got brought up that add their potential young star in Russell to intriguing prospects like surprise rookie sensation Eric Paschall, G League dominant Allen, I forget, I don't know how to say his last name, and I'm pretty good with pronunciations, was like Smelagic or something. And then you add that high draft pick that Golden State's going to get, and that's a pretty good package. That would be a really good package. However, if they're trading Karl-Anthony Towns because he doesn't want to be there, I highly doubt D'Angelo Russell is going to want to be there without Karl-Anthony Towns. So that's basically just like reshuffling young stars for Minnesota. Maybe they'd send Russell elsewhere. I don't know.
The funny part about that is, so Russell and Towns and Devin Booker from Phoenix are all friends, I guess, and want to play together eventually. And you've been talking about this since our very first trade podcast about Russell being traded to Minnesota. Makes total logical sense. So I never thought about them teaming up on Golden State. That's just weird.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Go out and trade Klay Thompson for Devin Booker? And
I don't know, man.
Get the three of them together.
For real. I've always thought that Robert Covington would be a great fit in Golden State. So maybe they'd trade Russell for Robert Covington and Minnesota's first-round pick this year. That'll be a deal that's really that's possible during the offseason. I could easily see Minnesota getting like the 6th or 7th pick and trying to keep Karl-Anthony Towns happy, going out and trading Gorgie Jang, who would have 1 year left on his deal, trading Robert Covington, and trading that 6th or 7th pick to the Warriors for D'Angelo Russell. And then if you're the Warriors, you'd have 2 top 7 picks, and you'd add Robert Covington, who's a great fit next to Curry and Thompson, and then you'd have those 2 top 7 picks. That team would just be set, absolutely set. I think that'll honestly be the move that Minnesota ends up making at some point to keep Karl-Anthony Towns happy, because it just doesn't make sense to trade somebody this young that has this many years left on his deal. He just signed an extension, so it's kind of interesting to hear that he wants help or he wants out, but he didn't really have the opportunity to get out as a restricted free agent last summer. He only had a choice to sign the extension. He signed the extension far before last summer, if I recall correctly. It's just interesting to see a player like this with this many years left on his contract that supposedly wants out. It'll be interesting to see how this develops. As far as the Portland Trail Blazers go, I'd love to get a Karl-Anthony Towns. I would play him at power forward next to Nurkic. I think he can play power forward. You know, he's not the quickest laterally, so in terms of his perimeter defense, it's probably not going to be the best, but you're talking about maybe the most complete offensive big in the entire league next to Yusuf Nurkic. That front court to pair with our backcourt would be absolutely amazing. I do think with Karl-Anthony Towns and with Yusuf Nurkic back, we could be a contending team. What I'm curious to know from you, Eric, is what would you want to trade or be willing to trade for Karl-Anthony Towns if you're the Portland Trail Blazers?
See, I'm not that big of a Cat fan.
Oh, really?
I'm on Jimmy Butler's side, how that all went down, where he just doesn't have that it mentality, you know, the killer instinct to be great. He's obviously talented and can get by without that instinct. He's still a really good player. But worst case scenario, he'd be a better trade asset than anything else we have. So I'd probably give just about anything to get him, other than Dame and Nurk, I guess.
Yeah. I'm looking at his basketball reference page right now. You said he doesn't have the killer instinct to be great. He's great, though. I mean, 26.5 points per game. 11.7 rebounds per game, 4.4 assists per game. So he also can make plays for others. So if you're talking about
Yeah.
Dame getting trapped, he can make plays. 51.4% from the field, 41.8% from three. He's a career 39.6% three-point shooter. This year he's shooting 8.5 threes per game, making 3.5 of them, shooting almost 42%. That's great to me. I mean, that's, you say he doesn't have the killer instinct, but
Well,
like,
I just like I don't know. It just bugs me when players don't ever achieve anything when they're that good, you know.
yeah,
And I know Minnesota's done a horrible job of putting pieces around him, but if he was as elite as, because I mean, a few years ago there was that I don't know if it was the GM survey or just some like random survey or something, but like he was like voted most likely to be the number one pick in a redraft um, by some people, um, and I just don't like LeBron took a horrible Cleveland roster to like 60 wins and the finals one year and stuff, and I know that was in the East, but like I just have an issue. Like, it's kind of like Kevin Love in Minnesota to me, where he put up great stats but didn't achieve anything winning wise. It's hard to judge those players if they're just putting up. But I mean, his stats are phenomenal though, so it's hard to really blame him. And then if he was on a team like Portland, he wouldn't have to be the man because we already have the man.
well,
So I see it both ways. I just think he's kind of soft when when the going gets tough, and I just don't like mentally soft players, and I'm not 100% sure he is that. It just seems like from the outside that Jimmy Butler was right.
yeah, I mean, from the outside though, the narrative on Hassan Whiteside, what Heat fans said about him, I don't think it was entirely fair. So,
Right.
can't base too much, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying you can't base too much off the narrative that people paint for a player. But I will say this: it's hard to figure out how. I don't know. There's this thing with big men. You brought up Kevin Love putting up great stats in Minnesota and not doing much. Another good example of this is Anthony Davis, who never really achieved much in New Orleans. The only thing he really achieved was sweeping the Blazers in the first round. Oh, man. But that was a guy who was putting up great stats but not really doing much. My theory is, in today's NBA, having a star big man like that, it's not going to help your team. He's not going to be able to carry your team, no matter how good his stats look. You need a perimeter player, a perimeter star to pair along with that big man, a perimeter star that can create. Because that's the thing is a LeBron, a Luka Doncic, a Damian Lillard, a point guard, shooting guard, small forward star usually is able to create plays for others. And Karl-Anthony Towns gets 4 assists per game, so he can kind of do that as well. It just seems like, Anthony Davis needed a LeBron. Kevin Love needed a LeBron. For me, hypothetically, I think Karl-Anthony Towns needs a Damian Lillard. There's this tier of stars that I feel like, I don't know. You have the stars that, like, yes, they could definitely be the best player on a championship-winning team. And then you have this next tier of players that's like, if you have 2 players from this tier, they can be the top 2 players on a championship-winning team, but they need somebody near their level. Damian Lillard and Karl-Anthony Towns, I think, are in that tier, where Damian Lillard needs a Karl-Anthony Towns type of guy. Karl-Anthony Towns needs a Damian Lillard type of guy. Together, I think that's good enough as your top 2 players to win an NBA championship. That's possibly 2 top 10 players in the league. So if Karl-Anthony Towns is available, I think Portland has to go hard after him. I think at that point you're literally putting everything on the table except for Damian Lillard. If you have to throw Nurkic into that. Emotionally, that's very, very tough for a Blazers fan. But logically, if you're thinking about how can this team win a championship, put itself in the best position for a championship, it starts with stars. And you need a Karl-Anthony Towns type of player, and that type of player doesn't become available all too often. And when you're looking at the way that teams defend Dame, you look at how teams trap Damian Lillard, and you look at how we struggle with dealing with that in the postseason. Having a power forward that can shoot over 40% from three, as well as attack the rim off the dribble very comfortably, as well as make plays for each other, they're not going to be able to trap Dame if Dame's running pick and roll with Karl-Anthony Towns. I'd open myself up to anything. Maybe trade CJ to a third team who gives up assets as part of a package to help Portland get Karl-Anthony Towns. I'd do that. Whether or not Olshey would be willing to do that is another question, but I'd open myself up. So. That's what I was wondering is what would you give up? What is the most you'd give up for Karl-Anthony Towns?
Well, obviously we can't trade CJ for a few more weeks, so if he was traded soon.
Let's assume it's the trade deadline. Let's assume it's the trade deadline.
The first thing I would say is we'll give you our big expirings and 3 first-round picks, and basically whatever pick of the young guys to make it work. Do you think that's too much? That's not that much compared to what LA and
I'd give 3 first-round picks up, and I'd also give up Collins, Simons, and Nasir Little. I'd give up all 3 of those alongside 3 first-round picks for Karl-Anthony Towns. I'd do that in a heartbeat.
It's kind of, not that the Timberwolves would want to get cap space because they don't really need cap space for anything unless they're trying to, last summer, it might have been beneficial to have cap space if D'Angelo Russell signed with them.
Yeah.
But if you just approach it like the Knicks situation, where you're basically we'll take on all your bad contracts because we have the ability more so than any other team this year to get to that dollar amount where we can take on a ton of bad salaries, which they don't really have unless they're I'm pretty sure I know your answer to this. You would take on Wiggins, right?
Yeah. Wiggins is worth his contract now. Wiggins has been balling out this year. Before that, he was definitely not worth his contract, but he's improved maybe as much as any NBA player this year. We'll see if it lasts. We have to see if it lasts, but I'd take on that contract. I don't think Minnesota would be trying to shed that. I don't think Minnesota would view that as a negative value.
Yeah.
I think if they lost Karl-Anthony Towns, they might be looking at, okay, we're going to make Andrew Wiggins the number 1 player, and we're going to rebuild around him. I think that might be the route.
If they're trading Towns, who's 24 years old, I don't think they would really be interested in getting CJ. That's why you mentioned possibly another team getting involved. But just for example, Whiteside and Bazemore make $46 million. They're really only bad contract other than if you think Wiggins is a bad contract is Jang, and that's not horrible since it only has 1 more year left.
Yeah.
So Towns and Jang make 43 million combined. So then it's pretty close to being able to add a Simons and a Little.
I came up with a trade scenario today. If you guys don't follow me on Twitter @TorJonesYT, I try and trade out 1 trade scenario a day. Sometimes it's a complete stretch and just throwing garbage out there because it's hard to be creative and think of new targets for the Portland Trailblazers. But today I came up with a 3-team scenario. Minnesota would get Zach Collins, Anthony Simons, Nasir Little, Kent Bazemore, and Courtney Lee from the Dallas Mavericks. This is a 3-team trade. They'd also get Portland's 2020, 2022, and 2025 first-round picks, and they'd also get Golden State's 2020 second-round pick, which would be probably between 31 and 33, and they get that second-round pick from Dallas. Dallas would get Hassan Whiteside. I think they could use a center upgrade, and then Portland would get Karl-Anthony Towns, Robert Covington, Jeff Teague, and Dwight Powell. So Dallas would give up Courtney Lee, Dwight Powell, and Golden State's second-round pick this year for Hassan Whiteside. Portland would give up Collins, Simons, Little, Bazemore, Whiteside, 3 future first-round picks for Towns, Covington, Teague, and Powell. What do you think about that trade, Eric? Or is that too many names being thrown at you?
No, I was able to follow along. I think Powell is more valuable to Dallas than Whiteside would be, so I don't know if they would throw him in and a second-round pick. I would love to get Covington out of that deal as well.
Yeah.
But you're probably looking at Jang instead of Covington from Minnesota's point of view, because they could probably get more value from Covington. Probably another trade, because I've heard lots of teams are interested in him.
Is there something going on with your audio in the background? Real quick. Chad, do you hear that? Is there like a fan or something going?
Not here.
Huh. That's strange. I don't know what that is. Chad, you guys hear that hissing? Yeah, I don't know what that is. I have no idea what that is. Yeah, it's definitely on your end, Eric. I don't know what's going on. That was random. It sounds like electrostatic. Yeah. So maybe maybe your mic's too close to your computer. I don't know. Yeah, I heard that too. You guys hear everything I hear through my headphones. So if you guys hear it, I hear it. If I hear it, you guys hear it. So I don't know what was going on with that. But, yeah, what do you guys think about that 3-team trade? Oh, there we go. That's better. What'd you fix?
I don't know. I'm hearing it through my headphones, too, but I didn't do anything.
I don't hear it anymore. We'll see if it starts back up. But
I just muted it and turned it back on.
But, yeah, I mean, shoot, I can show you guys that trade on the. Give me a second. I'll screenshot the trade for you guys so you guys can give me your feedback on the trade.
So yeah, I was thinking if it's just a 2-team trade, something like Whiteside, Bazemore, Simons, Little, and whatever picks, 3 first-round picks. Mm-hmm. For Towns and Jane.
Okay.
Yeah, you mentioned Nurk earlier. I just don't think Nurk has much trade value at this moment. So it's kind of like
I don't think so either. You're right.
Like you're throwing him in just for salary reasons, I guess maybe. But like to me, he doesn't have as much trade value as he does value to us if he comes back healthy next year. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is I was just saying, he wouldn't be off limits. So if Minnesota like really wanted him, then yeah, you include him, and then you play Karl-Anthony Towns at center instead of power forward, and then you just try and find a 3-and-D type of power forward. Maybe an Otto Porter Jr. or something. But so I think this is the trade that you're talking about. I'm gonna post this trade that you're talking about.
I really just think that the Timberwolves will try to appease him by making a trade for an upgrade at point guard.
Oh, definitely.
And not someone who's like a jerk like Jimmy Butler, someone who he actually wants to play with.
Mm-hmm. That's why I think they'll go after D'Angelo Russell when all said and done, because that's a friend. But anyway, here's your guys'.
Oh, come on, Necron. They wouldn't be a small town losing team if they had Cat.
Oh, I know. I don't.
Oh, I see. You got to throw Jake in there. Nice.
Gotcha. But gotta throw Jake in there. Gotta bring back Jake. We need a forward. We're giving up 5 players. We'd have maybe take back another small salary alongside that.
Yeah.
But the problem there is who's our backup guard? Who's our backup bigs? You know what I mean? We lose depth. And we already have very little depth to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem there.
Well, the good thing about that is we saved $7 million and would have 4 open roster spots then, so you could go sign a bunch.
But then this doesn't let me include Dwight Powell because he has a trade restriction that expires in a week. But I'll throw up my trade idea. Obviously, there's first round picks included in this. That's something to remember. But let me see here. I'm going to throw in DeLon Wright to Portland. That's just basically going to be Dwight Powell. It'll just say DeLon Wright. But let me... Yeah, I think that's...
Brian Scalabrine says Hazonia's out tonight.
What's been up with Hazonia, man? What's been up with him? What's he dealing with?
Back spasms.
Still?
Yeah, I guess.
I should have assumed it was back spasms. Should have assumed it was back spasms. Everybody been dealing with back spasms. I feel like I'm gonna get back spasms just because I'm associated with the team because I cover them on YouTube.
Melo stay. We're just. It was rumored that he wants out or requested a trade or wants out of Minnesota. So we're just throwing out hypotheticals of what you would give up to get him.
Wait, let me fix the picture. There we go. But yeah, that was my trade idea. Instead of DeLon Wright, it would be Dwight Powell, but that trade does work. You'd have 3 future first round picks going to Minnesota as well as Golden State's 2022nd, which would be between 31 and 33, so that's like as good of a second round pick as you can get, and then 3 really good prospects, and then expiring contracts. That's the other trade idea. That's the trade idea I posted on my Twitter today. But if Karl-Anthony Towns is available, I hope that Portland really, really went after him. I don't think he is available, but if he is, Portland has to go after him because that's the thing is these types of stars don't become available too often. Anthony Davis was available. He got traded, and he's probably not going to be available for the next few years. Kawhi Leonard was available. He's in Los Angeles with the Clippers now. He's not going to get traded over the next few years, I don't think. Same case with Paul George, who was available when he wanted out of Indiana. So you have these stars that seem to have settled down, so I don't think it's going to be as crazy as it's been the past couple of years. So that's the problem, is how is Portland going to take the next step? How is Portland going to make that splash? What are they going to do to get this roster to championship contention level? And what they have to do is trade for a star that's near Lillard's caliber. Lillard needs a guy like that. And right now, we just don't have that guy. We have some secondary borderline all-stars. Nurkic was playing like a borderline all-star. CJ is a borderline all-star. We need a legit full-fledged star. That's what Portland needs. So that's kind of where we stand right now. I'd love to go get Karl-Anthony Towns, but I don't think it will be possible.
The thing about Towns that makes him different than like Anthony Davis or even a Blake Griffin is his first 3 seasons he played all 82 games. Last year he played 77 of the 82. And this year he's been a little banged up, but some minor injuries in 1 out of 5 seasons is pretty good, especially for a big man. So he's been incredibly durable, so you don't really have to worry about the injury risk that you do with Blake Griffin would be an amazing fit if he was fully healthy, but he's hardly healthy, especially this year. He's been really banged up, and that's been affecting his play. So but getting a guy like that who's not even in his prime yet. He's only 24 years old, but he's good enough to help Dame in his prime. I completely agree that if that avenue is open, you do whatever it takes to make it happen. Yep.
Yep. I mean, you still have CJ, you still have Nurkic in this trade scenario I came up with. Like, that team would absolutely be a contender. You'd have Covington, too, as your starting small forwards. So your lineup would literally be Lillard, McCollum, Covington, Towns, Nurkic. You know what I mean? If you could somehow make that happen. Like, I don't care if the picks are unprotected. You make that happen.
And then, like, the cool part about that, too, is Lillard, McCollum, Towns, Nurk are all locked up for multiple years, too. So that would be, like, your team for the next 4 years if you wanted it to be. And then if you get a healthy Hood back next year, that team is really good.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd have Hood off the bench. That's why I like getting Teague and Covington here, though. Like, if we're gonna make a move for Karl-Anthony Towns, I assume it's like we're trying to make a run this season as well as into the future. We'd have to improve our depth to make a run this year. So that's why I like that trade. Is you'd have Teague replacing Simons as the backup guard. You'd have Robert Covington as starting small forward, and then that's not supposed to be DeLon Wright, but I can't include Dwight Powell on the trade machine. And they have close salaries, but Dwight Powell would be that third big behind Towns and behind Nurkic, that big replacing Collins, basically. You'd have some depth there. You'd need to make a move for a wing then, but you have a decent rotation around these guys. That bench would probably be a little bit better than ours right now with Teague and with Powell. Yeah, so I mean that's the dream trade. But is there any other teams that you can think of that could possibly make a splash for Karl-Anthony Towns? Any teams to look out for if he becomes available?
Well, like you just mentioned, the Warriors have a huge trade asset right now if they have their high lottery pick. I'm hoping they don't, because they have to trade one of their big players, like when they traded Draymond Green, but why would Minnesota do that? I don't know.
Exactly. It'd have to be a rebuild package for Minnesota.
Yeah. The Clippers. See, the Clippers, we talked about this, how they don't really have the salary to. It's the same with Boston. They don't really have the salary to make a trade for Whiteside work, but if they were getting a guy like Karl-Anthony Towns, whoa, preview there. I saw that.
I wanted to see if chat would see it. There's a little teaser.
Trevin noticed.
I wanted to see how many people would notice it. Teaser alert! All right.
But that would be the type of scenario where they would possibly give up a Harrell and Harkless and throw in another contract like JaMychal Green, but they don't have the kind of contracts to make that, or that pick assets to make that work very well. Yeah. I wonder if Cat was truly available, if Phoenix would make a run after him.
Yeah, Phoenix could be an interesting destination. You pair him with Devin Booker. Maybe you'd include DeAndre Ayton.
They have the what's his name, Johnson, big. It's like a $20 million expiring contract. Tyler Johnson. So they could easily get up to him and then throw in a bunch of young guys and picks.
Yeah.
So that would be a team to look out for, because pairing him with his buddy Booker in Phoenix, then they could probably make a run at trying to trade for D'Angelo Russell too. So yeah, that would be probably the most, or the biggest threat there. I could see New York trying to go after him. They have those 2 extra firsts from Dallas in the future, so they could trade like 5 picks possibly for him. I wonder if Toronto probably doesn't have enough assets, like player-wise.
Yeah, they don't, but that would be a really interesting front court. That would be a fun front court to watch with Siakam and Towns.
I know,
Both play
that's
like
scary.
perimeter players
Yeah.
as big men, and both can make plays for others. Like that would be an insane power forward center duo. But yeah, they don't really have the players to get that done or the picks to get that done. I do like Phoenix. Another team to possibly. I'm trying to.
Denver's always scary too.
Denver could always make a splash. You pair him with Jokic, yeah. I mean, I don't know. They have a lot. You throw out Michael Porter Jr. Maybe they include Jamal Murray. Probably not Jamal Murray though. I think he just signed an extension, so I don't even know if they can trade him. But you'd start off with Michael Porter Jr. I don't know how much value he has, but then you have other young guys, Malik Beasley. I know
you're probably throwing Gary Harris.
Yeah. I mean, and then you toss some picks around that. Their bench, the young talent on their bench doesn't look as good as it did last year. Their bench has not played the same way it did last year, which surprised me that they still won games. Makes me jealous, man. Oh, God, we should be up there, but injuries and coaching, both of those things.
Yeah, let's not get into.
Yeah, nope.
We'll save it for during the game when we're too busy.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try. Let me just say this. I'm gonna try and calm down on Twitter, man. These people are gonna keep like talking trash and making up narratives and making up opinions that I apparently have, even though I don't, because I apparently think that injuries aren't a problem at all, even though I've said a million times that injuries are a problem. Apparently nobody's watching this. We got 64 people watching this right now, but Pinwheel Empire thinks nobody watches this podcast. So screw them. If you guys follow Pinwheel Empire on Twitter, they were tossing shots out towards us. So we're drawing battle lines right here. We're in a Twitter war. I'm just kidding. It's
so
we're not gonna get into it. Go ahead, save me.
Denver owes Oklahoma City a protected top 10 pick for the next 3 years. If from the Jeremy Grant trade.
Yeah.
So
they probably wouldn't have a package to get it done. I don't think.
I mean, they could still trade a couple of later first round picks. I don't know if that's good enough. And then a bunch of like young guys.
Yeah.
Guess it would kind of depend on how much Minnesota would value guys like Porter Jr. But
you could maybe look at like in Indiana, maybe could be interesting with Miles Turner. Aaron Holiday's look good and he's young, and then picks, but they probably don't have enough. That's the thing, is like a lot of these teams, I think Portland has a better trade package than, because they have all their picks and they have 3 really good young prospects and they have expirings.
Don't they owe a first round? They got first for Brogdon.
Yeah, so they could trade their 2022 first, I think. Because that 2020 first is going to convey. They're going to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to brainstorm. What teams do you guys think could possibly be a match for Cat? Maybe the Hornets. They have some breakout players. Maybe. I mean, they'd have to include their picks. They're rumored to be interested in Andre Drummond, so I assume they'd be interested in Karl-Anthony Towns. If you could pair, like, Devontae Graham with Karl-Anthony Towns, that's a really interesting start.
You know who sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I was wrong.
The team that would be first mentioned and is always mentioned, and it makes me mad because they really don't have the assets to make a trade like this, is Houston. They'd be like, everyone would be like, "Oh, Houston's going to trade for him," and then
I don't understand it. They literally can't trade a pick for
Minnesota doesn't want Eric Gordon, and
the contracts that have to trade to match are like horrible contracts.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Utah doesn't really have the assets, but I just thought of a team that could be sneaky good.
What?
Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
They have like 8 million picks.
If they could get like a pick for Gallinari, and that could be outgoing salary somewhere. and to get a pick back for him and a big expiring, and then send that to Minnesota along with along with other picks. That would be interesting. They're a playoff team right now, so
Yeah.
he'd fit their timeline with Gilgeous-Alexander, and he'd make them a threat in the playoffs if they did something like that.
And they probably still have several picks left. That wouldn't be like completely depleting them like both LA teams.
Exactly. Hey,
so that's kind of scary.
Yeah. Hey, I told you guys Oklahoma City was not going to be that bad this year. They're 17-15 right now. I told you they weren't going to be that bad this year. They were my number one overpick because I think they were projected to only have 32 wins or something, 31 wins. That'd be like 32-50. They're already more than halfway there to that number. I don't understand why people thought Oklahoma City was such a bad team going into the season. You look at their roster with Gilgeous-Alexander, with Chris Paul, with Danilo Gallinari, with Steven Adams. I didn't understand why people thought that roster was so bad. That's a good group of 4 players right there.
See, my feeling was it's the same why I was wrong about Toronto was I thought that if they struggled at the beginning of the year, they would start trading guys like Gallinari and for just future assets and crappy players, so they were even worse this year, and then go into tank mode, which hasn't happened yet, and I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, see, I expected them to start off like this and then just be competitive. You know what I mean? Like they might be in the same exact position they were last year in terms of like their competitiveness in the first round this year, which is funny to think about because they traded away Russell Westbrook and Paul George for picks and Chris Paul. But
I mean, they didn't start off great though, did they?
They didn't start off great, but I mean they're 17-15 right now. That's a solid team. Chris Paul's been a good leader there, as far as I've heard. I would love to that 7th seed. That could be a first round matchup against the Denver Nuggets. I still am holding out hope that we could get a 7th seed, catch Oklahoma City for that 7th seed, and end up facing a team like the Denver Nuggets, or maybe the Houston Rockets get up to 2, or maybe somehow the Dallas Mavericks get to 2. It's not a foregone conclusion that the 1 and 2 seeds are going to be both LA teams. Right now the Clippers are 3rd, and they're in a pack with Denver and Houston and Dallas. So that 7th seed might end up being a competitive first round series for us if we get healthy, maybe make an upgrade or whatever. That's a series that we could win. We already beat Denver when we didn't have home court advantage. Now they have that added experience, but I mean we'd have Nurkic, we'd have Collins, unless we traded one of them or whatever.
You just gotta hope that the Clippers don't move into that 2nd seed.
Yeah, see that's the thing. That's what I'm banking on. If the Clippers move into that 2nd seed, then if we end up facing them in the first round, I don't see how we could beat them if they're healthy. If one of Kawhi or Paul George gets hurt, then I think that kind of changes things. I still think they're a really good team without one of those guys because of guys like Montrezl Harrell and Lou Williams. Those 2 guys seem to step up when one of their stars are out. That's a beautifully constructed team, in my opinion. But like Denver, they don't really scare me. Houston, Russell Westbrook and James Harden are known for choking in the playoffs, for struggling in the playoffs. That team doesn't scare me either. I mean, Dallas, they don't have experience. So if we just gotta get a first round series against one of those teams and be better, and I think we'll have a chance to make it out of the first round. You make it out of the first round, who knows? Maybe you make it to the 2nd round and one of the LA teams had a star get hurt, or maybe they're starting to struggle, or maybe we're playing that well that we're able to be competitive or something. I don't know. It'd just be nice to get back out of the first round, have an entertaining, fun first round series. I want to cover a good first round series on this channel. Those post-game streams would be something else. I want to experience doing post-game streams for playoff games where we're competitive. So I'm hoping that's the case. I'm looking at OKC, like we can catch that team, but they're playing well right now. They're 17-15. We're 14-19, so we're like 3.5 games back.
And after they lost to us the 2nd time, they were 6-11.
Okay.
So they were 5 games under 500 at one point.
So they've won 11 out of their last
15 games.
15. Yeah, they're 11-4 over their last 15. Yeah, I mean, I want to go back to that first. It was the first podcast we ever did. Me and Eric were actually at Eric's house together, and we did a podcast. We picked. We looked at over under win totals, and we picked our top 3 over bets and our top 3 under bets. I think that the bets that I placed were pretty good. I'm gonna have to look back into it, but I bet over on Memphis at 25. I don't know how they're doing, but I feel like they have a decent chance at beating that. I bet over on Toronto, I think, and I bet over on OKC. Does that sound? Yeah, Toronto was like 45 wins. That they're going to get more than that. OKC was 32 wins. They're going to get more than that.
I don't think you did Toronto. I think I did Toronto as under, and you just.
I thought I did. Yeah, you did Portland as over.
Portland.
That's right. Not gonna happen. Those 47 wins. But we'll have to like bring those back up and see how we're doing in regards to that. But yeah, so I gave you guys a little sneak peek of some of the stuff we have planned for New Year's. I wanted to see how many of you guys would catch it. I might throw one transition scene up in the post game show. If you guys know what's up, then don't say anything. I want to see who's not watching it now. That'll notice it in the post game show. I was just interested to see, like, wait, what was that in the comments? But that's something I've been working on. That little like transitions and stuff like that. That's what I mean by like the graphics. They're gonna start. I got a lot more than just that though, so stay tuned for sure. What were you saying?
Sorry to bring this back to Karl-Anthony Towns, but do you think New Orleans would be interested in him? Because they have
a great
kind
fit
of an
next to
interesting mix
Zion. You'd probably start off with sending Drew Holiday out to another team and getting picks back, and then you'd combine that with the picks they got for Anthony Davis, maybe, and then you'd look at having a Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Karl-Anthony Towns front court. That'd be a scary front court, man. That would be a big 3 that would have the potential to be a championship winning big 3. Zion might never be effective because of his injuries, because of his weight. But like Ingram and Towns together, that would be two stars. I think Ingram will be an all-star this year. I think Towns will be an all-star this year. And the thing is, the Pelicans right now, if they made that trade, they could make a playoff spot. Because I'm going to look up the standings real quick. I
got them. They're 3.5 games behind us.
Yeah. And they're 14. They're 11-23, but they're only 3.5 games out of a playoff spot because we're 14-19 in the 8th seed. So, I mean, I don't know. But game tonight, we gotta get this win against Phoenix. We gotta turn things around. This is a team we have to beat. We have a better roster than they'll have on the floor tonight. Okay, let me just preface this. Like, we have a better roster than the Phoenix Suns will have on the floor tonight, in my opinion. Our depth sucks. But they don't have DeAndre Ayton. They have Devin Booker and a bunch of mediocre role players. Kelly Oubre is solid. Aaron Baines is solid. But as a number 2 player, neither of those guys is anything close to what CJ McCollum is or even Hassan Whiteside is. We still have Melo. We still have Bazemore. Hassan Whiteside is going to have to possibly play 35, 36 minutes tonight and not get into foul trouble. But if he's going up against a Frank Kaminsky type of stretch big, it'll be a lot easier for him to stay out of foul trouble. Going up against DeAndre Ayton, that would have been a challenge. I think Portland should win this game tonight. I think if they do lose this game tonight, you can't, obviously we'd be better if we weren't injured, but I think we have the better roster. So I think if we lose this game tonight at home, then there's other things that we'll be able to point to as the reason why we lost this game. Because it's not only injuries. If anybody's watching this podcast that has disagreed with me on Twitter, I don't think it'll. We should win this game tonight, in my opinion. I'm still higher on this top 4 players we have. I'm still higher on Dame, CJ, Melo, and Whiteside than a lot of people are that just want to say, "Oh, we're just so injured, we can't beat teams like this."
Oh, They switched him from out to questionable, and now they're saying he's playing.
DeAndre Ayton's playing?
Yeah.
How are they allowed to do that? Switch him from out to well, All right, we're gonna lose. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, because I saw the thing earlier that I think it was Kaminsky was probable or something, and Aiton was out, and then yeah, just a little bit ago. So DeAndre Ayton was upgraded from out to questionable, and then 5 minutes ago, DeAndre Ayton will play.
Well, I mean, that's going to be a challenge and a half. I don't think we necessarily have the better roster than. I don't know. Do you think we have the better roster than Phoenix tonight? Let me know, chat. Do you think we have a better roster than Phoenix tonight, just in terms of talent? Eric, what do you think?
Um, that's tough. I think we still have a better starting lineup with Melo, Whiteside, Dame, and CJ,
Mm-hmm.
and Bazemore.
Yeah.
Um, if Simons plays well, it's close, but yeah, they're definitely deeper than we are right now.
Yeah. So we can compartmentalize this game into two different segments to analyze. You got the starters versus the starters. Our starters, I think, yeah, I agree with you. I think our starters are better than their starters, so we should outplay them with our starters on the floor. Our bench, that's a completely different story. I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix stormed back and then took the lead just because our bench is gonna be playing. I have no idea at center. I mean, the thing is, I'd match up Whiteside with Aiton, and then their center off the bench is Kaminsky. That's not a guy who really goes inside, so maybe you could get away playing Melo as center or Tolliver as center, just because that's kind of just a 3-point shooter type of big. Frank Kaminsky is defensively though that would be a struggle. We would have absolutely zero rim protection. Excuse me. So that's how I'm going to be analyzing this game tonight on Twitter. If you guys don't follow me again, at TorJonesYT, at HoopsJock for Eric. I break down the game live each game. It started some drama on Twitter, but that's how I'm going to analyze this game. You got the starters versus starters, and you got the bench versus the bench. Our starters are better. We should outplay theirs. We should be able to build a lead early in this game. If we don't, then we're probably doing some things wrong, or they're just playing above their heads, hitting tough shots, whatever. So we got this game tipping off in a little over an hour. It's an important game to win. It's a team that we're battling with for playoff positioning. Sadly, I did not think I'd be saying that about the Phoenix Suns 34 games into the season, but that is the case. So I think that's a wrap for this podcast. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Remember, stay tuned for January 1st for Wednesday, because we're going to be dropping some sick stuff. Any final words you want to say?
No, but also after the game, right?
After the game, we'll be live, post-game show as always. So be ready for that. We'll cover this game. Hopefully it's a good post-game show. We'll see. Maybe we'll get some more news on Scalabrine. I doubt it, but I'm waiting for an update on him because inconclusive MRI. I've never heard of that before.
They said it was going to be next week before they did a second MRI. So
how's it inconclusive? I don't understand that, but so we'll cover that when the news does come down. Who knows? Who knows what happened? But it's tough. It's tough losing another big. I would like Olshey to go out and sign another big. We kind of need another big. So Olshey, if we're still trying to win this year, go get Kenneth Faried. Go get somebody, please, because Moses Brown and Anthony Tolliver is not going to get it done at center. We'll see how that experiment goes tonight. So make sure to.
Oh, Trevin asked if you're starting the live stream before the game so they can chat.
Oh, I might try and do that. Yeah, because what I'll do is I can post, like, you guys know, some of you guys probably know, you can get in here before I go live, like if I create the stream, but then haven't, like, hit go live yet. I might create the stream before the game so you guys can talk in that live chat about the game. And then, like, after the game, then I'll go on air on that stream. So yeah, I'll create that for tonight. I'll experiment with that tonight. So just check back on the channel in like 30 minutes. I'm going to go to Black Rock, watch the first half of this game at Black Rock Coffee. Just like chill little coffee bar that I like to watch games at. So I'm going to go there. I'll create that stream. And then I'll hop on Twitter, see how that's going. And we'll watch the game, and I'll check back in with you guys in the post-game show. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this podcast. We'll see you guys later. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.